Hey everyone, welcome to my third Why Learn X Language in 2020 video. You can see my previous two on C# and PHP at the links in the description below. This is also my last planned video for this series, though I'll likely revisit these languages and maybe others next year about this time. I should note that there are certainly other languages worth exploring in 2020, many of which I know and do projects in, but that I didn't think warranted a specific video. If you disagree with me and want to see a video on your favorite language or one you've been thinking about looking into, leave a comment below and I might do a video on it in the near future. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about Python. Why should you learn it in 2020? In fact, a better question might be why mention Python at all on my channel, since this will actually be the first video with more than maybe a passing mention of Python. The fact of the matter is that I have used Python a fair amount, and I do think it's a valuable language to learn. Back when I learned it, I was impressed by its gentle initial learning curve and well-supported interoperability with a lot of the C and C++ libraries I was using at the time. In fact, so many of the native libraries had Python packages already built that I could quickly install on my system and start using. In most cases, I didn't even have to write a full Python script to get familiar with the libraries, thanks to Python's unparalleled REPL, R-E-P-L. That's Read, Execute, Print Loop. So right off the bat, we have four reasons: the learning curve, interoperability, wide selection of pre-built packages, and the REPL. But let's talk a little bit more about the learning curve so you know exactly what I mean. In my case, I was doing a lot of image manipulation and machine learning, which Python is still great at. Back then, a little over 10 years ago, the classic way to show a quick example program was the Hello World program, a simple program that just printed Hello World to the console or command line. But at about that time, Python and a few other languages came on the scene or started to gain popularity that promised to make the simple things easy and the hard things, well, easier than they had been. So for starters, the Hello World in Python was as simple as print Hello World. In fact, you didn't even need to save that to a file or put that in a program. You could just fire up the REPL with the command Python, type print Hello World at the prompt, and then you could go get a beer. While other programming languages might take up to 10 lines of code that then took at least a chapter in most books to explain, which sometimes resorted to, trust me, we need this for now and I'll explain it later, rather than actually describing the boilerplate, in Python you could do this in one self-explanatory command. This is just one example of Python's extremely gentle initial learning curve. I say initial because I think once you get into the more complex, nuanced aspects of Python, the learning curve can get a bit steeper. But the gentle learning curve will get you very far, and some people may never get to the point where the learning curve gets steeper. I did, but I was also doing more complex computation, and even then Python was still easier to use than the alternatives. Since then, Python has also exploded in popularity for the so-called data sciences. If you're not familiar with data sciences, it's essentially the confluence of business intelligence, data mining, computer science, and machine learning. While Python wasn't initially designed with data sciences in mind, it ended up being the perfect language for it. This gives rise to two advantages for Python. First, it means that the initial gentle learning curve, followed by a steeper learning curve as you get into the more advanced topics, actually transitioned into a three-part curve, with an only slightly steeper segment once you got past the simple stuff and into the data manipulation use cases. And second, it means that if you're looking to do data sciences stuff, you have the perfect language picked out for you. Sure, you could use another language, but you get more mileage if you also know Python. But Python isn't just for data science. It's still a general-purpose programming language that people have very successfully written systems-level programs in. For instance, quite a few utilities and background services for Linux are built using Python. A while back, the entire installer for Ubuntu was written in Python, and it may still be. It's also popular for web apps, though not quite as popular as Node.js, Rails, PHP, and other platforms. Long story short, you really can't go wrong learning Python. Well, this is a video about why to learn Python in 2020, and I think I've rattled off 5 or 6 reasons. Perhaps the most compelling reason to learn Python is because there are very few reasons not to. It's an easy language to pick up, especially if you already know another language, but even if you don't. In fact, it might be the best first language out there. And you can use it for just about anything and find other people who are also using it for whatever you are. I could probably go on endlessly with other reasons why I use Python, but I'll end the video here and let you find the reasons why you want to use Python. Leave them in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed, do me a favor and click that button as well as the bell icon to get notified when future videos come out. And if you have a friend or colleague who's looking to get into programming, maybe shoot them a link to this video and some of the introductory resources I'll have linked down below as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.